Yeezus Kanye West is 10 years old. Yeezus, listeners are instantly immersed in an intergalactic ballad of classic video game distortion and menacing on-site tapes. In 2013, Kanye West's audience literally exceeded the planet. You have astronauts blasting his sonic in a weightless environment while the rest of the world admires the concentrated grandeur of My Beautiful Dark Twisted Fantasy. Not surprisingly, Yeezus' focus on a sweet mix of electronic and hip-hop sounds didn't resonate with audiences at first. 24 hours after its release, fans called it a failure. They were hoping for old Kanye, but they didn't get it. Instead, they caught him in the middle of a quarter-life crisis. However, Kanye West's Yeezus won't live up to fans' initial expectations. My Beautiful Dark Twisted Fantasy gets a resounding 10/10 rating. Additionally, his studio efforts were interrupted with Watch the Throne and Cruel Summer. With Jay-Z once a penniless Chicago kid, Kanye West was now posing with his boyhood star in front of a million lights. Reality. He is just as mentally ill as he used to be. This causes a contradiction in Ye's personality. On Yeezus, West brutally realizes that endless chases aren't helping his basic happiness. In contrast, Hollywood made him more desperate than ever. Yeezus is an emotional excursion to those feelings, with a level of Western sincerity not seen since The College Dropout. His sixth studio album is Power Grid, performing some of his darkest songs to date. In many ways, this is a sequel to the original Quiz that charted in the 80s and Heartbreak. However, it goes further than that. New Slaves is a divisive protest against the systemic racism of the prison industrial complex, as Kanye eerily bans himself amid twists, weights and escape keys. Hold My Liquor is a deploring indictment of Ye's alcohol problem. His sugar level is comparable to his cracked personal relationships. Yeezus also had hits like Bound 2 and Black Skinhead. Sampling Bound from the Ponderosa Twins over the previous installment, the track's defining score is an ironic contrast to the project's ill-fated narratives. The record is like an outsider's intro, a completely different sunny world than the distorted Yeezus synths. With My Beautiful Dark Twisted Fantasy, Ye has participated in many famous press tours. Making various outlandish claims, he conceived his most commercially successful record to date. Although My Beautiful Dark Twisted Fantasy has been hailed as a classic by Kanye's followers, not a single song made the top 10 on the album. Yeezus' ultimate success is tangible proof that commercial reception in the creative space is nearly impossible to predict. At its core, Yeezus is about boldly breaking the rules. He knows fans will hate her. He knows he probably won't support his more profitable efforts. However, he has transformed himself into Yeezus. This important goal appears even in the project's surprising partnership choices. Although Rick Rubin and Daft Punk are famous producers, they've always had an knack for their left-handed personalities. There are also such unique actors as Hudson Mohawk, Young Chop and Arca. Crew is a perfect fit, looking to run through Kanye's electric universe in a somewhat cohesive fashion. Of course, Yeezus is also inspired by the classic electronic business that is Random Access Memories. Kanye was a nerd growing up. Even as he blends into the gang-infested streets of Chicago, he will return home and live out the solace of Akira. Yeezus is a direct reflection of that world, a vulnerable project in a space where it's sometimes a nightmare to exist. It's not his cohesive masterpiece, but that is it. Around the time of 808's release, Ye told Vibe, "I'd rather make a group of people angry and make myself happy than make everyone happy and upset inside." Over time, people have considered tracks like Blood on the Leaves, New Slaves, and Bound 2 to be some of his best songs.